What is up, my aesthetic boys? It's Fresh, back with another video. This is a storytime subreddit that I've gotten a lot of requests for, but haven't done in a couple weeks, so I hope you enjoy malicious compliance. If you mind the cold, put on something warm. This MC happened during our first year of high school. In my country, high school is for kids aged 15 to 19. Backstory, important. At the beginning of the year, we all got thrown into a very different environment than we were used to. Teachers got a lot stricter, grades dropped, and we didn't know anyone there. This story in particular is about our PE teacher, whom I shall call Coach Carter, or CC, for the rest of the story. So at the beginning of the year, us boys from classes 1A and 1B got assigned Coach Carter as our PE teacher. CC was a very fine lad, fine to work with, and relatively chill. The problem was that he was obsessed with running. So much so that basically every lesson we had, we spent running around the city in circles. At first, we did not mind, but it got very chilly in October. Northern Europe can get quite cold in late autumn. The temperature dropped to about 5 degrees Celsius and kept dropping, so running around the city in just a t-shirt and shorts was very uncomfortable. So we asked our teacher if we could just stay in the gym and play some sports instead. Of course, we couldn't. Instead, he told us to, quote, put on something warm if we were cold, or something along those lines. I do not know how to translate his exact phrasing. I suppose most of you probably spotted this little hole faster than he did. Cue the malicious compliance. MC time. The next week, the twin guys in my class, were very excited before the PE lesson. When we were all changing into our PE kits, they pulled Russian ushankas, mittens, and winter jackets from their bags and went running like that. The teacher wasn't amused, but stood up to his word and let them run like that. The next lesson, more people brought winter gear. Then even more, you get my point. About 5 lessons later, almost the whole 2 classes were in full winter clothing. It took us all a good 10 minutes to get changed, and we were all running at the speed of a disabled snail. I suppose the sight of us running was extremely hilarious as well. A teacher in the front in a t-shirt and shorts, and 10 meters behind him, 20-ish sweaty kids in full winter gear, looking like they were about to conquer the Everest. All the fun ended when one guy brought a snowboard and a helmet to school, while one other guy brought snowshoes. Coach Carter finally told us he'd had enough of our crap and he'd seen our point. We ended up exercising in the gym until late spring next year. Probably the best experience of our high school life, which also brought us guys very close together. I don't know what the issue is. Running in the cold is great. You guys ever run in the snow? It's the perfect running texture, really low impact, and it's dry snow, so your feet won't get wet. Yes, I will tweet exactly what you said. I used to work in publishing, and part of my job was managing our company's social media accounts. When we were running a campaign for a specific book, we would supplement that campaign by tweeting about it. It usually had no provable impact on sales, but it would make the author happy. I was running a campaign for a big nonfiction author. I initially had no contact directly with the author, but drew up a social calendar with suggested content and timings and sent it through the lead marketer. I heard nothing back, so I started tweeting as planned. I was then told by the lead marketer that the author wanted us to tweet more. I was happy to do that, but needed to balance that with the other 20 books we were publishing that week, so I suggested we do 2 more tweets at peak times, but that I would need some new content because tweeting the same message over and over again is not particularly effective, especially for nonfiction. Now, at this point, the author found my work email address online and decided to email me directly. I then received 4 emails in 15 minutes, in all caps, badly spelled, and bright red, I kid you not, telling me all the things I was doing wrong. Apparently, this author wanted to market his 800-page history book as a sensational, romance-filled family epic. We'd included some marketing on this side, but we were still making it clear that this was a history book, not a fiction one. He wanted to skip that bit and mislead people into thinking it was historical fiction. The author proceeded to dictate 10 tweets to me that he wanted me to tweet that day. I went to ask the lead marketer if this was in line with her campaign, and she told me to do whatever he asked. In the time it took me to speak to the lead marketer, the author emailed me an additional 5 times, escalating massively each time, and ultimately telling me he would get me fired if I didn't do this right now and post exactly what he told me to post. So I did that. I posted each of his requested tweets exactly as he had sent them to me. None of them had links to purchase, none of them had images, several of them had spelling mistakes, and he consistently spelled his own Twitter handle wrong. When he complained, I forwarded the series of abusive emails he had sent me to the head of marketing, and he was banned from ever communicating with marketing staff outside of his lead again. I did get a bit of side-eye, but I was told to just delete the tweets and ignore any further emails from him. This was a bold, malicious compliance story, to say the least, given the stakes in this case were her job. Firms will do just about anything to please their client, but it seems the line that this marketing firm drew was more in favor of the treatment of their employees than the completion of any whim held by this client. Definitely good that she didn't receive any punishment from her employer here, since, of course, she did first clear it with the lead marketer of the book's campaign. And, I don't know, maybe don't try to market your work in a falsified manner? It's never a bad thing. Ordering McDonald's products at the Burger King drive-thru? No problems. So I used to work the drive-thru late nights at Burger King on Friday and Saturday. We had plenty of drunk smartasses come through asking for McDonald's products like Big Macs and Quarter Pounders with cheese. Being a teenager that ate at both McDonald's and Burger King regularly, I knew what was in each burger from each restaurant. And being Burger King, you could customize your burger, so when someone came through the Burger King drive-thru asking for McDonald's products, if it was possible, I would customize their Burger King burger to McDonald's specifications and ingredients as much as possible. A typical occurrence. Me. Burger King Cannington, please place your order when you're ready. Some drunk smartass. Yeah mate, I'll get a Big Mac meal and a double Quarter Pounder with cheese. Me. Sure, large or regular for that Big Mac meal. Smartass. Large please. Me. Sure, large Big Mac meal and a double Quarter Pounder with cheese. That's gonna be $10.37, please drive forward to the second window. I would then do a double junior cheeseburger with cheese, minus tomato, ketchup, and mayo, add ranch sauce, closest thing to special sauce we had. Add an extra 4-inch bun, we just threw away the extra top, but this made it the same 3 pieces of bread a Big Mac has, and it was accounted for properly in the till and ingredients. For the double Quarter Pounder with cheese, it would be a double Whopper with cheese, heavy cheese, plain, add onion, pickle, ketchup, and mustard. Again, properly accounted for in the till and ingredients. Alright, so 2 things guys. First off, this really doesn't belong in malicious compliance. It is compliance strictly speaking, but it belongs in a similar subreddit titled r/delicious compliance, which is somehow very real, pretty active, and has a good number of people in it. Now, the other point, and certainly the more concerning and less tasty of the two, is that in Australia, like literally anywhere with a drive-thru, the serving window and ordering system is on the driver's side of the vehicle. This means that, as with every drive-thru you've ever been to, the driver is the primary order placer. So if OP really was encountering drunk smartasses in the drive-thru, that seems slightly concerning to say the least. My dad's girlfriend has a wrist tattoo. My dad's ex-girlfriend had a wrist tattoo and recently got a job. She was told to cover up the tattoo because it violates God's image of a woman. She tried covering it up with makeup, but they said that the different tone of makeup made it more obvious. They told her that she had to find a way to cover up the tattoo cleanly or she would be fired. Keep in mind, she works in a building where she is never seen by the customers. She just answers phone calls and writes messages for people. So she tried putting a bandage on it. They said that made the area look like she had tried to slit her wrists and told her to find another way. So finally she comes to me with this problem. I'm very petty, and all for taking things literally. So I ask her, do you have any bracelets you could wear to cover it up? She brings out this box full of the noisiest metal bracelets I've ever seen. So the next day she goes to work and both of her wrists are covered in these bracelets. You can hear her coming from a mile away. Her boss told her she could expose the tattoo. Honestly, one of the more realistic stories that you'll read on Reddit. It seems like a very plausible situation, especially since I personally have stories from friends of mine who have had issues with bosses being a little belligerent, shall we say, about the presence of tattoos on workers, even when they might not necessarily be interacting with the customers. Pitched an idea for porn site to a military chaplain conference. I used to work as an RP in the Navy, chaplain assistant. I'm atheist and have always played devil's advocate for the Marines we served when chaplains grew a wild idea about command policy suggestions. Every year, RPs and chaplains were forced to attend a chaplain conference together. I went begrudgingly as I had a lot of work to do with operations and training. This year, the major theme was harm reduction strategies, like how a community will forgo the fight directly at heroin and focus on needle exchange programs and treatment facilities which supervise the drug use and simply reduce the peripheral harm from it. And one of the subtopics was domestic violence and sexual assault. During the sexual assault portion of the conference, one chaplain piped up that we need to take the blinders off and understand that pornography is the root cause of sexual addiction, which then leads to sexual assault. So I piped up and suggested that while sexual addiction is bad, sexual repression can be equally harmful and that service members need to find a healthy balance in regards to sex. This was an attempt to break the absurd notion that porn leads to sexual assault. After the day ended, a rabbi came up and told me how offensive that was to all of the priests in the room. Like, we haven't heard of Catholic priests' issues with sexual repression in every other news article. I decided to stop participating in the conference after that. On the second to last day, again the porn thing came up off topic to what I feel was a rebuttal against what I had said. Red in the face, I kept on not contributing. Then the conference went into a 45-minute brainstorm where each table had to come up with a harm reduction strategy on any topic discussed that week. They made it perfectly clear to not just think outside the box, but to, quote, blow the box up. I was the only RP at an all-chaplain table, and normally officers don't wish to include enlisted in anything because they have a sense of, I have a degree and you don't. But these did ask for any ideas I had. I declined, but then a wild idea came into my head. As they continued to brainstorm, the idea grew with some pretty awesome points. Too risky, I thought. Then they again asked my thoughts and asked me to join in and participate, so I obliged. How about a military porn site? They immediately didn't like it. They began questioning me about where I was going with this. I explained to them that in order to blow the box up, as they said, and think in a harm reduction way, we need to pitch a military porn site. One chaplain refused to be even in the conversation and left the table. Another asked me, RP1, are you seriously suggesting a government-sponsored porn site? I said, yes, with the most serious face I could muster. After hearing my ideas, they agreed to let me present as long as I did indeed present. I stood and offered, quote, I've heard the conference worries about pornography in the military. I agree completely with you all on the negatives and now see the dangers of porn in the ranks, but let's not fool ourselves into thinking that porn will be wiped out from the service just like drugs off the streets. So I suggest a harm reduction strategy in the form of a website to combat the following points made this week. The website will ensure the following: all actors vetted for health, legal age, and consent to mitigate STDs, underage participants, and sex trafficking. Logins mandatory to track time and will kick off members who spend over 15 minutes watching the videos. Skinemax style videos which do not show penetration, and all videos have a marital theme. Sex addiction help resource links as ads for each video that are unskippable. Site will be called MAPS, Military Approved Porn Site, because everything in the military needs an acronym. This isn't r/that happened, but they did all clap when I finished. I'm pretty sure they were just being polite. Luckily, no one came to talk to me afterwards. I'm pretty sure because I solidified myself as a pariah with that presentation. Now, I know, you can laugh, you can say that it's fake. I'm honestly not entirely sure myself that it really did happen, but it seems fairly believable in the detail it was described in, and the idea kinda seems like something the government would do at some point, which is alarming. I can't have my phone back? Fine. I'm not a particularly big fan of the dean of my school. I just think she could be a lot more professional, and she has a tendency to talk down to students like we're 5 years old. A few days back, she busted me for using my phone in class. For the record, I was just trying to mute it, and took my phone away. After school, I went to go get it back from her, but she told me that she would only give it back if one of my parents picked it up. My mom wasn't going to pick me up that day, so she wouldn't be able to get it for me. But I haven't been at this school for very long, and I have pretty bad anxiety, so I wasn't really in a position to argue. Instead, I just asked if I could use it for a second to mute my alarm. Since I've been having a lot of trouble staying awake in the morning, I downloaded one of those shake alarm apps where you have to shake the phone or something like that to turn off the alarm. It's worked pretty well for me, but unlike the normal phone alarm, you have to unlock the phone in order to shake it and turn the alarm off. The only other way to turn off the alarm is to turn off the phone completely. So I tried to explain this to her, but she said that I just wanted to use the phone for social media or some BS along those lines. So I said, fine, and left because I wasn't about to miss my bus because of this. In homeroom the next day, around 8, I get called to the dean's office. I hear my ringtone from down the hallway, and I need to take a second to wipe the grin off my face. She tells me to come in, somehow still using her trademark, "I'm better than you in every single way" voice. I walk in and she immediately asks me how to turn off the alarm. Now, I have my alarm set for 6 in the morning, so this has been going off in her office for around 2 hours. I take the phone and just turn it off and watch as her life falls apart. She manages in, "Oh," and lets me leave her office with my phone. She's sick of it by now. I don't know why this woman who deals with kids and phones on the daily didn't think to just turn off the damn phone, but oh, the look on her face. Now, this actually happened in a large part to someone that I know. When I was in middle school, one of my least favorite teachers did something very similar to a friend of mine. Held their phone essentially overnight for some permissions-based reason. I'm not entirely sure the legality of that or how it worked within school policy, but that was the situation. They were finally able to get their phone back, but I really hope that an alarm had gone off at some point. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit content. Drop a like if you liked the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.